What would you do if the ghosts of your past came knocking when you thought you had finally found peace? Al Capone, once a figure cloaked in infamy, now lives a quiet life in a small coastal town, haunted by the shadows of his former self. With every crashing wave, he yearns for redemption, yet the weight of his past lies heavy on his heart. A simple man at his core, Al dreams of love and forgiveness, but the scars of betrayal and violence twist his spirit. The coastal town, a stark contrast to the chaos of his previous life, is a fragile sanctuary, yet it is perched on the brink of danger. When a mysterious stranger arrives, bearing a letter marked by the evidence of torment, Al is thrust back into a world he desperately tried to escape. The letter speaks of a long-lost enemy, one who threatens the only woman Al has ever truly loved. Now he must confront not only the demons that linger in his mind, but also the painful decision of whether he can embrace the hero he never wanted to be, as the tides of fate pull him into a storm of secrets and sacrifice. Al stared at the letter, its edges frayed as if it had traveled through time and turmoil. The ink smudged with urgency, revealing a message that twisted his gut. A threat to Mia, the woman who had dared to love him despite his legacy. Memories of their time together flooded back, each one more bittersweet than the last. She had brought light into his shadowed existence, but now darkness lurked just beyond the horizon, waiting to drag her into his past. As he grappled with the implications of the letter, Al encountered Dottie, a spirited waitress with a knack for reading people. She saw through his steely facade, sensing the storm brewing beneath. "You can't run from who you were, Al, but you can choose who you want to be," she said one afternoon, her voice a blend of encouragement and challenge. Her unwavering belief in redemption sparked something deep within him, yet he felt the weight of doubt pressing down. Could he really protect Mia from the ghosts that haunted him? The arrival of the stranger, a figure cloaked in shadows, sent ripples of anxiety through the town. Al recognized him immediately, a face from the past, a betrayal etched into his memory. This man, once a friend turned foe, now wielded the power to unravel everything Al had fought to build. The confrontation that loomed ahead filled him with dread, a fear not just for his own safety, but for Mia's. In those quiet moments by the crashing waves, Al wrestled with his identity. Could he be the hero Mia saw in him, or was he forever doomed to be the villain? Each day brought new challenges, and as he prepared to face his past, Al questioned whether he had the strength to confront the man he once was. Would he rise to protect the love he had almost lost, or would his old life consume him once more? The stakes had never been higher, and the ghosts of his past were not merely whispers anymore. They were a looming storm, threatening to wash away the life he had painstakingly built. As Al stood at the edge of the water, the letter crumpled in his fist, he felt the ground beneath him shift. The stranger's arrival had not only stirred memories of betrayal, but had also awakened a network of old enemies. It wasn't long before he learned that Mia had been targeted, her life threatened, not just by the shadow of his past, but by someone who had a vendetta against him. The phone calls came late at night, their silence a heavy weight that pressed against his chest. Each time the phone rang, a fresh wave of dread washed over him, and he could see the fear flickering in Mia's eyes, a reflection of his own turmoil. Dottie, sensing his turmoil, urged him to lean into the community, to trust those who had once stood by him. Yet, as Al attempted to rally support, he found whispers of doubt amongst the townsfolk. Their initial warmth had frayed, replaced with skepticism that left him feeling more isolated. The very people who had once embraced him now hesitated, their loyalty shaken by the resurfacing of his past. Al's emotions spiraled. He felt anger towards the stranger, guilt for dragging Mia into his mess, and a profound loneliness that clawed at his heart. Mia, resilient and fierce, refused to cower in the face of danger. She began to take matters into her own hands, reaching out to her own network of friends, suggesting they bolster Al's defenses. Yet, each time she volunteered to help, Al felt a mix of admiration and fear. He admired her strength, but was terrified that her determination could lead her directly into harm's way. He realized the fragility of their relationship. The bond they had forged now hung in a precarious balance, tested by the very darkness he had hoped to shield her from. As Al's resolve wavered, the stranger made his first move, a public confrontation that forced Al to choose between the man he used to be and the man he aspired to become. The townspeople watched, and Al felt their judgment like a palpable weight on his shoulders. In that moment, he understood that he needed to confront not just the stranger, but the doubts within himself. He had to stop running from his past and face it head-on, not only to protect Mia, but to reclaim his own identity. The stakes were higher than ever, and Al knew that the turning point was approaching. With each challenge, he felt the potential for transformation, if only he could muster the courage to embrace it, to rise not just as a protector, but as a man unshackled by his history. The time to act was now, and the decisions he would make in the coming days would define not only their future, but who he would ultimately become. As Al stood in the town square, the sun setting behind him, a commotion erupted nearby. He turned to see the stranger, a menacing figure, confronting Mia, who had been trying to rally support for Al's cause. The crowd, initially curious, now shifted uncomfortably, their divided loyalties evident. A palpable tension filled the air as the stranger's voice rose above the murmurs, accusing Al of dragging Mia into a mess that was not hers to bear. As in that moment, Al's heart raced, a mixture of fear and desperation coursing through him. He felt a surge of protective instinct. This was not just about him anymore. It was about Mia, the woman who had chosen to stand by him despite the shadows of his past. As he pushed through the crowd, a wave of realization washed over him. He could no longer hide behind his regrets or allow his past to dictate their future. The weight of his indecision threatened to crush him as he grappled with the truth that had been looming over him for so long. "Enough!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. The crowd fell silent. Curiosity piqued. Al stepped forward, facing the stranger. "You want a confrontation? Then let's have it. But not here, not now. This isn't just my battle, it's hers too." The emotional impact of his words hit him hard. A mixture of fear for Mia's safety and newfound strength surged within him, igniting a fire that he thought had long faded. In that instant, he understood that his journey was not just about confronting the past. It was also about embracing the present and forging a path forward with Mia by his side. The townsfolk watched, their expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue. Al's declaration opened new possibilities. It was a chance to unite rather than divide, to seek allies rather than enemies. The confrontation transformed from a moment of confrontation to a potential rallying point for the community. Yet, as Al faced the stranger, he also felt the weight of impending challenges. The stakes had never been higher, and he knew that the resolution of their conflict would ripple through their lives in ways he could scarcely imagine. With every heartbeat, he felt the urgency of the moment, the need to act decisively and courageously, not just for himself, but for Mia, and for the future they could still build together, if only he could muster the strength to seize it. As Al locked eyes with the stranger, he felt the weight of every doubt he'd ever harbored crash down upon him. This was not just an external confrontation, it was a battle against the inner demons that had haunted him for too long. The stranger's menacing grin dripped with contempt, a taunt that echoed Al's own insecurities. "You think you can shield her? You're nothing but a coward hiding behind her skirts." The crowd around them shifted, their breaths held in collective anticipation. Al could sense Mia's gaze, steady and unwavering, urging him to stand firm. The lessons he'd learned over their journey together surged to the forefront of his mind. Courage, vulnerability, and the strength found in connection. This was his moment to embody those truths. "Cowardice is letting fear dictate my actions," Al shouted, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I've run from my past long enough, and I won't let your words control me or threaten Mia any longer." With each word, he felt the currents of anger and determination course through him, igniting the flames of resolve. The stranger stepped closer, eyes glinting with malice. "You think this is about her? It's about you. You're a failure." At that moment, Al realized that the true battle wasn't about defeating the stranger. It was about overcoming the fear that had kept him shackled. He took a deep breath, recalling the moments of laughter and solidarity with Mia, the quiet yet powerful strength she had instilled in him. "No," he said, his voice rising, "it's about standing up for what's right. It's about love, about community. This isn't just my fight, it's ours." The crowd began to stir, whispers of support rippling through them as their eyes widened at the shift in Al's demeanor. With a sudden rush of adrenaline, Al stepped forward, not in aggression but in defiance. "If you want a fight, then let's make it one that matters. We stand together or we fall divided. I choose to stand with Mia and this town." The crowd erupted in applause, rallying behind Al's declaration. The stranger recoiled as the tide shifted, his confidence wavering in the face of collective unity. The moment crystallized in Al's mind. A true victory was not in the defeat of an enemy, but in the forging of bonds strong enough to withstand the storm. As the tension dissipated, Al felt an overwhelming sense of liberation. He had confronted his greatest challenge, not just the stranger, but the demons of his past. He turned to Mia, their eyes meeting in a shared understanding. They were not alone in this fight. Together, they could face whatever lay ahead. In that moment, the crowd transformed from mere onlookers into allies, a community ready to reclaim its strength. Al knew they would rise together, and for the first time in a long while, hope sparked anew in his heart.